Now we are going to talk about other concepts of GST. First and foremost, let's talk about the GST rates. As you can see, we have various rates of GST starting from nil to 28. These are nil, 0.25%, 3%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. GST Council has fixed majority of goods and services under four tax slab rates of 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. However, gold is kept at 3% rate and rough precious and semi-precious stones are fixed at special rate of 0.25%. You may be thinking, what is nil in that case? Here, nil means it is taxable under GST but at zero rate, at nil rate. So technically, GST would be zero on that particular item, but to take that kind of goods or service under the ambit of GST, government has done so. So it is taxable but at nil rate. Let me give you example. All types of salt, when we talk about salt, are taxable but at nil rate. Plates and cups made of flowers, leaves, and bark, these are taxable at nil rate. 0.25, I have already told you. Precious and semi-precious and rough precious stone, these come under this category. 3% is for gold. 5% when we talk about the example of it could be insulin, postage and revenue stamp, etc. 12% when we talk about it is about board games, chess, ludo, carom board, movie tickets. If it is under 100 rupees, the price of ticket is 18% would be printer, set-top box for TV. 28% is for high-end motor car, motor vehicle, luxury motor car, you can say, or go-karting, amusement park, etc. So these are the rates of GST, and government has given us the list of all items along with the taxable rate of GST. When we are talking about these rates, so this is the rate of GST. When we talk about rate of GST, it means this is IGST rate, or when we talk about it in the terms of CGST and SGST, then it means you need to do half. If it is 5%, GST rate is 5%, then it would be charged like 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. If the rate of GST is 28%, then CGST would be 14%, SGST or UTGST would be 14%, but IGST would be 28%. So depending on whether the sale is interstate sale or intrastate sale, you need to charge accordingly. After GST rate, next is GST compensation cess. Now, cess is something which is levied on the pricing of the goods in addition to the regular GST. And this is levied on the notified goods only. Government has given the list of goods. On these kind of goods only, GST compensation cess is generally levied. And these goods are mostly belonging to the luxury and demerit categories, such as tobacco products, pan masala, motor cars, coal, aerated waters, etc. So on these type of goods, GST compensation cess is generally levied upon. Now, how do we calculate this thing? So this is calculated apart from the value of the GST. Let's say if there is a motor car and that the pricing of the car is 10 lakh rupees. On this 10 lakh, 28% would be the rate of GST. Fine. Let's say compensation cess on that is 40%. So this 40% will be calculated on the price only. So on 10 lakh, you need to calculate 40% in the name of cess and 28% in the name of GST. Okay. So this is calculated like that. It has to be paid by all the taxpayers except those who export the notified goods and those who have opted for the GST composition scheme. Now, the collection of GST compensation cess is basically applicable for the first 5 years currently. That is, it was implemented on 1st July 2017. So it is there till 1st July 2022 for now, to compensate the manufacturing heavy states for any possible losses due to the consumption-based nature of GST. Compensation cess is payable to the states and it is calculated based on the methodology specified in the Act. The fund which the government has collected through this cess is released to the states in every 2 months. If there is any unutilized money remaining after paying it to the states, after compensating to the states, then that fund at the end of the transition period shall be distributed between the states and the center as per any applicable formula, and generally it is distributed among the in between state and center on equal sharing basis. But let's say 100 crores are left, 100 crores are unutilized fund after compensating to the states who were at the loss. So those 100 crores will be distributed among state and center equally. So center will be keeping 50 crore and remaining 50 crore will be distributed among the states. Now we have 31 states, 3 union territories and other the states. So among these, it would be calculated as per the rules specified by the Act. Next is ITC. When we talk about ITC, then it means reducing the taxes paid on inputs from the taxes to be paid on output. Now, this concept ITC is not new because it was already there in the pre-GST indirect taxes regime. It was there in service tax, VAT, excise duty. But its scope now has been widened under GST. It was not possible earlier to claim ITC for central sales tax, entry tax, luxury tax, other taxes. This is the reason prices were high in the pre-GST regime, because ITC was not available in every kind of tax. But one more flaw was there in pre-GST regime, and that was cross credit of VAT against service tax or excise or vice versa was not possible at all, because every tax have their own compliances and credit. There was no credit available in case of you want to get it set off against any other tax. Let's say you cannot get VAT set off against excise, you cannot get excise set off against central VAT, you cannot do so. So that was the problem in the pre-GST regime, which was taken care of in post-GST regime, because all the taxes are subsumed by GST. So cross credit is easily possible. Basically, tax credit is the backbone of GST. And for a registered person, it is a major matter of concern. Let me give you the example how ITC is availed. Let's say manufacturer, after manufacturing the product, sells the product, and on that product he collects 500 rupees as tax, as GST. And for producing that particular product, he purchased certain raw material, and on those raw material he paid GST of 200 rupees. So output tax which he collected is 500 rupees, but input which he bought, he paid tax on that input tax is 200 rupees. So he has ITC worth rupees 200 available to him. Final tax which he needs to pay to the government is after adjusting input tax from the output tax, that is 500 minus 200, remaining 300 he has to submit to the government. Now, utilization of ITC is done on the basis of certain preferential order. When we talk about the taxes, these are CGST, IGST, SGST or UTGST. We know this thing that for interstate supply of goods, IGST is charged. For intrastate supply of goods, CGST, SGST or UTGST are charged. While making payment for the taxes, which I just mentioned, ITC will be allowed in a certain manner. Now, IGST, if we have any credit of IGST, when I say credit of IGST, it means input tax. You purchase certain item, you have paid taxes on those items. Now you have to get those taxes reduced from the output tax, right? So here credit means input tax. You purchased something interstate and you paid IGST. you paid CGST, and you paid SGST. Now, how do you have to adjust these taxes from the output tax? So IGST, first of all, will be subtracted from IGST only. If you have any output tax which is IGST, so from that output tax you can reduce the input tax in the name of IGST. Let me give you an example. You purchased something interstate and you paid 1 lakh GST on that, and you sold something interstate, you collected 1.5 lakh from the customer in the name of GST. So your output tax is 1.5 lakh. However, your input tax is 1 lakh. So you can easily subtract 1 lakh from 1 lakh 5,000, 1 lakh 50,000. Balance is 50,000. If you have any balance that is 50,000, this you have to pay to the government. But what if reverse is going to happen? What if input tax is more than the output tax? How will you deal in that case? Let me give you an example again. You purchased something, you paid 1 lakh IGST, but while selling, you collected 80,000 IGST. Now, output tax minus input tax, it means 80,000 minus 1 lakh, it will give you minus 20,000, right? It means you have credit worth rupees 20,000 left with you still. How will you adjust that? So this credit can later on be adjusted against CGST, and after then SGST and UTGST. Similarly, if you have any input tax of CGST, this will first of all get reduced from output tax of CGST, and if any balance is left, any credit is left of input tax in the name of CGST, then that will give preference to IGST. Similarly, CGST, SGST and UTGST, they will first of all get reduced from their own tax, and later on they will give preference to IGST. Please note over here, CGST is not giving preference to SGST. SGST, UTGST are not giving preference to CGST at all. Okay, so this is how ITC is utilized in under GST. Registration. In GST regime, businesses whose turnover exceed certain threshold limit, this threshold limit keeps on changing in the GST council meetings. They keep on changing that thing. For example, right now it is 20 lakh threshold limit, and 40 lakh in different case, and 10 lakh for special states case. There is a term which is known as special states in GST that is given to the certain northeast states and Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir. These are the states which come under the category of special states. So threshold varies for every kind of category. That is why I have not mentioned exact threshold over here. So business whose turnover exceeds the threshold limit, that could be 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 40 lakh, as per their state ruling, as per the ruling of council, then that kind of business is required to register as a normal taxable person. And the process of the registration is known as GST registration. For certain businesses, registration under GST is mandatory. If the organization carries on business without registering under GST, it will be an offense under GST and heavy penalties will be there. Under GST, a single registration is required for different taxes. When I say different taxes, it means CGST, SGST, IGST, and cess, you are not supposed to register separately for each kind of tax. You have to get one registration for all of these taxes. Also, if you have a business which has multiple branches in different states, please understand, I'm saying different states, you are required to register separately for each state, because accordingly you will be allotted GSTIN, that is GST identification number. And in GST identification number, first 2 digits, that GST identification number is of 15 digits. So in those 15 digits, first 2 digits represents the state. So if you have the business in different states, then you have to get registration separately for that respective state. However, if you have business which has multiple branches within the same state, then a single registration is required only. In that case, you need to mention number of branches in the same state, and you have to further mention among those number of branches. Let's say you have 7 branches in Delhi only. So among those 7 branches, you have to decide one place as principal place of business. You have to declare any one place as principal place of business, and other places will be known as additional place of business. Reverse charge mechanism. When we talk about reverse charge mechanism, then we have to understand the normal situation as well. And normal situation says that supplier needs to collect GST from the receiver of goods or services while giving the goods or service. So while charging the price of goods or services, you need to collect charges of the goods or services plus GST from the customer, and supplier, after collecting GST from the customer, is supposed to submit the same to the government. But in RCM, that means reverse charge mechanism, as the name says, RCM reverses the scenario. It means here the person who is receiving the goods and services, that person needs to pay the taxes, and that person has to keep the tax amount with himself and then submit it to the government. Balance amount he has to pay to the supplier. Now let me give an example. I hope you guys have heard about Just Dial company, right? So, and Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, he is the brand ambassador of Just Dial company. He does the advertisement for Just Dial company. Here, who is the supplier of service? Who is giving service? Is Mr. Amitabh Bachchan is giving service to Just Dial, or Just Dial is giving service to Amitabh Bachchan? Here, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan is giving service to the Just Dial by doing acting in their advertisement, right? And Just Dial is supposed to pay Mr. Amitabh Bachchan the amount for whatever service he has provided for. Let's say Amitabh Bachchan has charged 1 crore rupees for doing the advertisement. 1 crore plus 18% GST. So it would be 1 crore, 1,80,000 rupees, something like that. So 1 crore 18 lakh, sorry. So 18 lakh is the tax amount. In normal case, supplier, which is Amitabh Bachchan, he is supposed to collect 1 crore 18 lakh from Just Dial, and he is supposed to submit 18 lakh to the government. But if RCM comes into the picture, then what will happen? Just Dial as receiver, they will be paying the tax to the government. They are supposed to pay tax to the government. How they will be paying? They will keep the tax amount with themselves. That is, they will keep 18 lakh with themselves. They will pay 1 crore to Amitabh Bachchan and pay 18 lakh to the government in the name of the taxes. So this is what reverse charge mechanism is. This is applicable in 3 cases. These are imports. If you are buying something from outside country, then you are there to represent government about those goods. You are there to talk to the government. Government is not gonna go to the US, or government is not gonna go to Singapore to collect tax from the seller. Government says you are the receiver of the goods, you pay tax to us. So in case of imports, reverse charge mechanism is applicable. If in case there is purchase from unregistered dealer, then reverse charge mechanism comes into the picture. I just gave you the example of Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan is unregistered supplier and Just Dial is registered company. So in that case, RCM will be applicable automatically. Supply of notified goods and services. There is a list given by the government of goods and services where RCM will be applicable. The registered supplier, generally, in that case, Just Dial, I'm talking about, registered supplier, registered receiver will pay the tax, and all the provision of the act will be applicable to him as if he is the supplier of goods and services. He'll have to behave like that. Although he is receiver, but he will have to behave like a supplier. and where he has to behave like a supplier in making invoice. As a receiver, still he will generate the invoice, not Mr. Amitabh Bachchan. Okay, he will have to generate the invoice, he will have to retain the tax amount with himself, and he will have to submit the tax to the government. The concept behind this is just to prevent tax evasion, because it generally becomes almost impossible to collect tax from unregistered supplier. That is why RCM has come into the picture. Composition scheme, very important scheme, and this scheme is optional as well. As we say, this scheme is an optional scheme for registered taxable person who is supposed to get registration under GST. For those this scheme is, and these people, if they are having their turnover less than the limit, and that limit is 1.5 crore in normal case and 75 lakhs in special states case. So if they have their turnover below the limit of their state, then they have the option to opt for composition scheme. And when they opt for composition scheme, then they are supposed to pay tax at a lower rate concerning certain conditions. So there are certain conditions as well. They have to fulfill those conditions as well. Now, please understand, a person making interstate supply cannot opt for this scheme at all. That person cannot opt for this scheme. Composition supplier, if you are opting for, and then you become composition supplier, then composition supplier cannot issue a tax invoice, because composition supplier cannot charge from their customers tax at all. They have to pay tax out of their own pocket at very minimal rate of the turnover. Therefore, they has to issue bill of supply instead of tax invoice, and at the top of that bill of supply they have to mention composition taxable person not eligible to collect tax on the supplies. Now, when I say they have to pay taxes at a lower rate to the government from their own pocket, then there are rates given in the table. If you are a manufacturer or trader of goods, then GST rate would be 1% of your turnover. Let's say your turnover is 1 crore, then you have to pay 1 lakh tax to the government from your own pocket. Simple. No compliances of GST would be there on you. You don't have to file monthly return for GST. You will be a kind of free from the compliances of GST. That's why composition scheme is known as easy and simple GST scheme. If you are restaurant who is not serving alcohol, then 5% out of your turnover you have to pay to the government. But in that case, you cannot collect tax from your customer at all. Other service provider will have to pay 6% tax from their own pocket of turnover. When I say 1%, 5%, 6%, this is the rate of GST. It means IGST would be 156 respectively, but CGST and SGST will be equally divided. In case of manufacturer and traders, CGST would be 0.5%, GST would be 0.5%. In case of restaurant, CGST and SGST would be 2.5, 2.5 each. There are certain merits and demerits of this scheme as well. So one has to keep the merits and demerits in mind while opting for this scheme. The merit of this scheme is obviously there are limited compliances now. Lesser compliance with respect to furnishing of return, maintenance of book of records, issuance of invoices. You can focus on your business in a better way if you will be free from these compliances. Otherwise, you'll have stress always of the GST. Limited tax liability is there. On comparison with regular taxpayers, a person taxed under composition scheme will be liable to pay tax at a rate not less than 2.5% for the manufacturer, 1% in any other case, instead of 18%, where you were supposed to pay 18%. Here, after opting for the scheme, you are paying 1, 5 or 6%. Unlike regular taxpayers, Taxpayers under composition scheme will be liable to pay taxes at a lower rate, resulting in a lesser chunk of their working capital. So high liquidity would be there. However, there are certain disadvantages of this scheme as well, because I just explained interstate supplier. If you are selling something in out of your own state, then you cannot opt for this scheme. So if you want to opt for composition scheme, then it means you have to limit your sales to the single state only. So limited territory for business would be there. Under this scheme, credit of input tax paid on the purchases from other taxpayers will not be allowed, because you cannot collect, see, you cannot collect tax from your sales. If you are selling something to the customer, you cannot collect tax. Similarly, if you have paid certain tax, you cannot claim that as ITAC, because you are paying from your own pocket. So no tax collection would be there, no ITC would be there, simply pay money from your own pocket. Third point, no collection of tax, that I already explained to you. E-way bill, it is something which GST introduced, and this is a centralized system of way bills. This system was launched on 1st April 2018 for interstate movement of goods, and on 15th April 2018 for intrastate movement of goods in a staggered manner. Under e-way bill system, manufacturers, traders, transporters, these people can generate e-way bill for the goods transported from their origin to its destination on a common portal with ease. Tax authorities, they also get benefit, as this system has reduced their time at checkposts, and this has helped in minimizing tax evasion as well. Anti-profiteering mechanism. Generally, what happens? Supplier of goods and services, they should pass the benefit of ITC claimed or change in GST rate, especially reduction in GST rate, to the recipients through a commensurate reduction in the prices. But many a times suppliers, they do not pass the benefits to the recipients, and knowingly they do not do so. This is known as profiteering, whereas you are supposed to pass on the benefit to the customer. Likewise, I have shown you previously pre-GST, post-GST regime. In that, I have shown you the calculation of cascading effect. Earlier, there was something which you were getting for 168 rupees. Now you were getting that for 143 after GST came into the picture, because they could avail ITC on the taxes they have paid while purchasing. So ideally, this reduction of from 168 to 143, this reduction of 25 rupees benefit should be passed on to the customers in the form of either reduction in prices or increasing the quantity. But ultimately benefit should be passed on. Many suppliers, because of the greed, they do not do so. They try to make their own profit instead of passing on the benefit to the customers. So therefore, to stop this kind of practices, central government has constituted the National Anti-Profiteering Authority to examine whether ITC availed by any registered person, or whether reduction in the tax rates have resulted in a proportional decrease in the price of the goods or services both supplied by him. This is just to ensure that the customer is protected from arbitrary price increase in the name of GST. The Anti-Profiteering Authority has to fulfill certain duties, and their duties are to determine whether the benefit has been passed to the customer or not, to identify the registered person who has not done so. If they have found out there is some person who has not done so, then they have to pass on order to that person, to the registered person, to the supplier, to reduce the prices and to return to the recipient an amount equivalent to the amount of benefit along with the interest rate from the date of collection of higher amount till the date of return of such amount or recovery of the amount not returned. as the case may be. In case the registered person cannot identify the recipient, then the registered person has to deposit the equivalent amount in consumer welfare fund. They should not make profit for their own selves, rather they should submit the equivalent amount in consumer welfare fund. So this is the duty of anti-profiteering authority to check whether this is happening or not. If some person to whom the order has been passed, if they are not fulfilling their duty, if they are not fulfilling what have been asked from them, then penalty can be levied upon by the anti-profiteering authority. Even after the penalty, the person, registered person or seller, keeps on doing these kind of malpractices, then anti-profiteering authority has the right to cancel their registration as well. GST return filing. A taxpayer needs to furnish monthly, quarterly returns as the case may be. Normal taxpayer, if you are, then you need to file monthly return. If you are opting for composition scheme, then you can go for quarterly returns as well. So I'm talking from the point of view of normal person. So a normal taxpayer needs to furnish monthly return along with one annual return. All returns are to be filed online through the GSTN portal, that is www.gst.gov.in. So a registered person has to fill these 4 forms while filing the returns: GSTR 1, GSTR 2 and 3. These 3, 1, 2, 3 are monthly return one has to file for, and GSTR 9 is the annual return which one has to file. So a normal registered person has to file monthly return, as I said. So 12 months are there, 12 monthly returns he has to file. And after that, after the completion of the financial year, he has to file the annual return as well. There are certain deadlines for these returns. So GSTR 1 is basically for the outward supply. Whatever sale you have made in your particular month, let's say I'm talking about the month of May. So in the month of May, you have made certain sales. So you might have, let's say 30 bills of the sales which you have done. So you have to enter the details of all those 30 transactions in GSTR 1. Whatever you have sold, you have to enter that in GSTR 1. GSTR 2 is for inward supply. Inward supply, it means whatever you have purchased. So obviously, if you have purchased something, you might have got the bill. So you have to enter the details of all your purchases in GSTR 2, purchases related to the business for which you want to claim ITC. So you have to enter those purchases in GSTR 2. GSTR 3 is the consolidated return which auto-populates the data from GSTR 1 and 2. So GSTR 3, it takes data from GSTR 1, whatever sales you have made along with sales output tax, whatever purchases you have made in GSTR 2 along with the purchase taxes at the time of purchase you have paid. So after giving you the ITC claim, the final tax amount comes as the balance. It might be the refund from the government side, it might be extra tax payable from your side, it could be anything. So there are deadlines for these returns. For GSTR 1 monthly return, it is, as I said, 11th of next month is the date. So if we are talking about the month of May, then 11 June is the last date of filing GSTR 1. For GSTR 2, 15th of next month, it means for the month of May, 15 June is the last date. For GSTR 3, 20th of next month. For the month of May, 20th June is the last date to file GSTR 3. Similarly, you have to do for all the months, all the 12 months. After completion of the financial year, you have to file annual return as well via GSTR 3. GSTR 9. This is the annual return, and it is basically the summary of the all 12 monthly returns you have filled for. And the last date to file GSTR 9 annual return is 31st December of the next financial year. So let's say if we talk about financial year 2021, 2020-2021, if we talk about this year, then this year ends on 31st March 2021. So annual return for the year ending 31st March 2021, last date is 31st December 2021. By this date, you have to file your annual return. Failing to do so, failing to file your returns on time will attract penalty plus interest and other action from the GST officer. So we have covered the introductory framework of GST laws and rulings. There are several sections detailing the entire framework of GST that is dynamic and that depends on the deliberations done at the highest level, that is GST Council. I hope that the participants would have been educated on the fundamentals of this law. Thank you so much.